Hey guys, and welcome back to the World War II Solitaire board game channel and another playthrough video, which is not D-Day Dice. Can you imagine it? Yes, I do actually play other games sometimes. Today we are going to be playing Rattenkrieg 2, Battle for the Barrikady Factory. And this is a very light, small game. You can see it's just a postcard. It's about the size of my hand. And the setup is very quick and the rules are very quick, so and it also plays quickly. So I thought, since we have the time, let's go through the setup together. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna have all of your German counters here, and they're gonna be facing up on the white side. On the back side there is a green side. And then you're gonna have your airstrike marker with a Stuka on it. And then you're going to have your Soviet counters, and you'll mix them up, and all of them will be face down, so you only see this hammer and sickle emblem. You're going to need dice, and you're going to need at least 5 6-sided dice. I recommend to play with 5 in one color, representing the Germans, and then 2 in one color, representing the Soviets. So the Soviets have a few different counters, and these are the Soviet counters that you see here on the map itself. And some of them have some special abilities. So let's just briefly go through how this works. So I'm going to be starting in these 4 areas down to the south, and then at the beginning of the game there's going to be 5 Soviet counters out here on these red shields. And these are random counters, so we don't know what's hiding here on the back of the counters. So the very first thing that we do when we start is we roll 2d6, and whatever number we get, we're gonna place 1 new Soviet counter. So that would be here in area 9, and that's something you're gonna do in the start of every turn. And after that you have German movement, and your units can move up to the movement value. So you have tanks which can move 2, and then you have other tanks. I guess this is a Panzer IV, and this is a Stug, I'm assuming, and it can only move 1 area. You have infantry, engineers, they can also only move 1 area. And then you have, besides that, you have generals which can move 2 areas, and a half-track which can move 2 areas and also carry 1 group of infantry. So you're going to be moving, you move all of your forces. You can stack 2 forces together. It can be infantry, engineers, tanks, and you can also stack +1 general. So you can have a tank and an engineer and a general, or you can have just 2 infantry groups, for example. So then you do your movements, and you can place out 1 in each area if they can reach it, or you can stack 2 to 3 together, depending if there's a general or not. And after you ended all your movement in contested areas where there's going to be a Soviet counter and at least 1 German counter, you will then flip the Soviet counters and see what happens. So we have 2 effects, or actually 3 effects that can happen. These top 3 counters plus this one, they have no effect at all. These 2 are snipers. If you have a general present, he will die, and that is the only way that generals can die. And then you remove the sniper. If it's one of these guys with an A, the A stands for ambush, and that means that you're going to take 1 hit before the battle begins. And again, these guys with no emblem, the 4, they have no effect at all. So once you have done that Soviet special attack, or whatever you want to call it, then you actually have to battle. So you will see that these guys have these emblems on them. They're not iron crosses, they're called something else. And you count up the numbers that you have. And then you count up the stars that the Soviets have, plus the defensive value of the area that the Soviets are defending. So let's say that I send my Stug tank here, which has an attack value of 3. I send him into area number 4. Number 4 has a defense value of 1, and that is always benefiting the Soviets. So you can see here that I would be leading if I were against one of these ambush units. But if I were fighting these 3 units, it would be a tie. If I were fighting this one, the Soviets would be leading. So if the Soviets are leading, you roll 2 dice for the Soviets and 1 for the Germans. If it's equal, you roll 2 for the Germans and 2 for the Soviets. If the Soviets are in the lead, if the Germans are in the lead, you roll 2 for the Germans and 1 for the Soviet. And that's why I think you should have 2 different colored dice, not to have to do 2 separate rolls. It really saves a lot of time. And then in the final, whatever you roll, so for example, if you roll a 5, you have 2 German dice here and a 3. That's a Soviet win, and nothing really happens except that you have to take a hit, but you also have to take a hit if you win. But if you roll a Soviet 3 and then a 1 and a 3, sorry, a Soviet 2 and then a German 1 and a 3, you remove the Soviet unit and then you take a hit. Remember, this is Stalingrad, we don't have supplies, you're gonna take a hit whatever, you know, the outcome of the battle is, but we want to take down the Soviets even though we are suffering. If you roll a Soviet 3 here, that's a tie. And the Soviets will always win ties, except if there is a general around. The generals are kind of cool because they will gain experience. You can see we have 2 starting generals here, which is Celle and Steinmetz. And once you have completed 1 battle, it doesn't matter if you win or if you lose, you will flip them to their opposite side, and they will gain 1 battle value. So you will see here that Celle starts on 1, and when he is promoted, or gets experience, he has 2. And Steinmetz, he starts actually with 0 battle value and will gain 1 when he's promoted. There is one really neat mechanic to this game, and that's the airstrikes. So if we are in some trouble, the Soviets are leading with 2 dice and we only have 1, we can spend up to 3 dice to add 3 more dice to our roll. If this ever reaches 0, we lose the game. So if we ever get to 1, we really don't want to spend 1 more airstrike. I think that mechanic is a little bit weird. I don't know why you would ever spend enough airstrikes to go down to 0. I could get it if there was an element where the Soviets could decrease your airstrikes, like, you know, you could have a counter with surprise AA. That would create a really interesting push your luck element of this game. But I've read this a couple of times now to make sure, but I cannot find anywhere. I'm a little bit tired, but I can't find really that the Soviets have any way of decreasing the number of airstrikes that you do. So I think that mechanic is a little bit weird. I don't know why you would ever spend that last airstrike. Anyway, so when do we lose and when do we win? We have instant failure if there is ever more Soviet counters than there are German ones. We have instant failure if we lose all of our counters, and we will win if we manage to remove all of the Soviet counters from this board. Okay, so let's go to the step setup. That's basically all of the rules there is. We start by putting our airstrike marker on the 8, the last place of the tracker. We have all of our Soviets here and we mix them, so we don't know which ones they are. And then we place them out on the 5 red shields on the map. So when you roll to place those Soviet counters in the beginning of each turn, if you roll a number where there is already a counter present, German or Soviet, you will not place that counter out. So that also makes a very interesting mechanic to me, because that means you kind of want to spread out your units once there are only a few Soviets left on the map. Say we only have 1 or 2 left in some corner, and we have a unit nearby that can engage, then we might not want to send additional units, but rather spread them out in case we lose the battle, and that will decrease the chances of the Soviets being reinforced. So now we have these 4 areas in the south where we get to place our German units. Remember, we can place up to 2 regular units, that's infantry, engineers and armor, plus 1 general. So what I like to do is I like to take the half track, which can travel 2 areas and also bring 1 infantry unit. And the infantry units can otherwise only travel 1 area. And then I like to bring one of the generals with him. And I like to bring Celle, which is better than Steinmetz. So we're gonna place him or them over here in this area. And then we can see here that these areas are equal in strength or defensive value, but we can see that it's gonna be problematic up here. Also here, this area has 3 in defensive value and this has 4. So we're gonna need strong units to engage. The strongest units is the Stug, but it only has a travel value of 1, but 3 in attack value. So I'm gonna send the Stug together with some of these slow engineers, which can also only move 1 area every turn. So that's gonna be good to bring up into that strong position up in the corner. And then we have a tank left with a general, and we have infantry. And I actually like to take the 1 infantry group with this quick tank up here. And the reason why I like that is because the tank has a very good 2 attack value. And if I take a hit, I can absorb that hit with the infantry unit, which is less useful to me. And then I think I'm gonna send 1 engineer with a general up here into area number 4. Okay, so now we have finished setting up the game to play, and we are gonna go with the first turn for the first time. So we roll 2d6 to see if the Soviets are reinforced. And we roll a 12, and 12 is over here, so that's quite lucky. That means the Soviets are not gonna be reinforced. So we move all of our guys, and these guys are gonna go up here to attack. And then these guys are going all the way up here. And remember, the infantry here could normally only move 1 area, but now he moves 2 thanks to that half track helping him out. These guys are heading straight up here. And then these guys are heading up here, the 2 engineers. Oh, sorry. I could actually only have 1 engineer and 1 tank. So this guy is instead joining this group. So I screwed up immediately. I'm sorry about that. So again, you can have 1 tank, that's the Panzer IV and the Stug. Totally you can have 2 of this in 1 area, 1 tank, 1 engineer and 1 infantry. And on top of that, you can have a general. So let's go ahead and flip these Soviet counters now that we've finished our movement. So here we immediately get an ambush. So the Stug, if he has an attack value of 3, if you decrease him, he only has an attack value of 1. But the engineer does not lose his attack value. So I'm gonna choose to decrease the engineer instead. And then we have the next area. And here we have a sniper. So unfortunately, we do lose Steinmetz. That's quite unfortunate. The good thing is that the sniper goes away. He gets killed, I guess, or escapes. Next area. And here is just a normal Russian unit, so there's no ambush or sniper. And then the last one. And here we have an ambush again, and I'm gonna take the hit to this infantry. Okay, and then we have battle. So let's go ahead and start in this area. The enemy has a defensive value of 1 plus 1 from the map, so that's 2. I have a total of 5. So I have 2 dice, and the enemy will only have 1. However, if there is a tie now, that means that I'm gonna lose, so I will actually use 1 airstrike. And that will let me add 1 more die to my roll. So we won with the 6, so that guy is gone. And then we have to decrease 1 of our troops, and I'm gonna go ahead and decrease the engineer. So we lose him. And then we have this area, and we have a total attack value 3. They have a total of defense value 3 with the 2 stars on the counter and 1 on the map. So that means 2 Soviet dice and 2 German dice. I am going to use 1 airstrike to at least have 1 more than them. And they win, I can see, because they roll a 6. So even if I would have rolled a 6, that would have been a defeat for me, since Soviets do win ties if there's no general around. So I'm going to decrease the value of this guy. Also, I should decrease the value of one of these guys. I forgot about that. And then we have this area here. We have a total attack value 3. And they have 1 plus 3 on the map. So they actually lead that one. So they have 2 dice. I only have 1. I am going to use 2 airstrikes to help me out with that area. And I win. You can see they rolled a snake eye. I only rolled a 2. So that was very lucky that I actually won that. So we remove that Soviet troop, and then we decrease our half track. And our general is promoted from the experience, so he now has an attack value of 2 instead of 1. And that is the end of the first turn. So we roll again for Soviet infiltration. And we roll a 5, and 5 is over here. So we just take one of these guys and put there. And we get to move. Okay, so I'm gonna move my engineers into this area. And then I am gonna move the tank up here, and then take the half track and the general into that area, and the infantry guy, see here, number 6. I think I'm moving him into number 6. That's likely to have an Soviet infiltration. Okay, so let's start by flipping these counters. This could be interesting, could be a sniper, but it's not. And let's see over here. Here we have a sniper, but there's no general, so I'm fine. However, I have to decrease the value of one of these guys. So let's start with this battle. Here it's a tie. So that's 2 Soviet dice and 2 German ones. Over here later on, 6, 5, 6, I'm going to be in the lead. So I am going to use 2 of my airstrikes here to make sure that I win. I can finish the game in this turn. Let's go ahead and roll. Remember, here I will lose any ties. Oops, I dropped the Soviet one. See if they roll a 6. I'm done for, but they do not. So I win, and we remove the infantry. Okay, we have the final battle here. Again, I have 2 plus 1 plus 3. That is 6, and they have a defense value of 2 plus 3 from the map. So I'm in the lead with 2 dice, and they only have 1 to defend with. And then I use 1 airstrike, so I get 1 more die. And I would have used 1 more airstrike if it wasn't for the case that if you ever get to 0, you lose, which again, I don't really understand that rule. I might have misunderstood it. Let's go ahead and roll. And again, I'm going to win ties here since I have a general in this area. Ooh, okay, that's why you have to spread out your troops. They win. So I'm gonna remove this half track. And these generals can never be on their own. So if you end up with a general alone in an area after a battle, or sorry, if you end up with a general alone after movement, you have to remove the general from the game. If you end up with a general alone after battle, he has to move out of the contested area. Okay, so we roll for Soviet infiltration, and we roll an 8. And we have 8 over here. That's a shame. And we know he's not going to be a sniper. Okay, so let's see for movement. I'm going to back this guys up with an engineer. This guy is going down here. He's being joined by the tank, and the engineers are going to move closer to support in case I lose that battle. It might be an ambush. Let's go ahead and flip it and hope it's not an ambush. And it's not an ambush, but it's a very strong unit. That's the NKVD, the 10 for the 3rd. And he has a defensive value 3. So they're going to be in the lead, and I have no more airstrikes. Let's go ahead and see if we can win this battle. I'm in the lead, so I have 2 dice, and they're going to have 1. I have a total attack value of 7. His attack value is only 5. I'm going to win ties since I have the general here. And that's one tough Soviet unit. They win again. And this time I'm going to remove that engineer. And then we have that area, which is going to be even tougher because they're going to have 2 dice. I'm going to have 1. Their defensive value is 5. My attack value is 3. And I win ties. And look at that, it's a tie. So I am going to remove the infantry unit. Okay, next turn, we roll for Soviet infiltration. And we roll an 8, which is very lucky since we are already in 8. They cannot place out any reinforcements. So I could potentially win this, but it's gonna be hard. In this area here, it's now an equal. So we roll 2 red dice, 2 normal ones. Oh yeah, I should move my engineer first, so he's moving up here. He can't join the battle, he can only move once. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and roll for that battle. 2 red ones for the Soviets and 2 black ones for the Germans. And again, we're beaten, we're all double 5, they roll double 6. So I don't lose my Stug, but he is decreased and he loses a total of 2 attack value points. That's very bad. Let's see how we can do here. The Soviets are in the lead. So they're gonna have 2 red dice. I'm just gonna have 1 black one. I have no airstrikes left, so it's not looking good. Yep, we lost, so we decreased the value by 1 and the Soviets remain. Okay, this is not gonna end well. Let's roll for Soviet infiltration and we roll a 4 and 4 is down here. Very bad. Okay, so we have movement. I think I'm gonna move in here to see if I can help this tank to win. It's not gonna make a difference, I'm afraid. So let's start with this area because that's going to be exciting. So they have a defensive value of 5. My attack value is 3, so they are in the lead. Let me just stand up and see that the camera is capturing all of this action. And man, those guys in the corner know what they're doing. I don't stand a chance. So I lose that one, and my general have to move out of that contested area. If I lose 1 more unit, I'm gonna have lost the game because then the Soviets are gonna have more counters than me. Okay, this area is the same. The Soviets are in the lead and they roll 6. So I lose 1 of these guys. And that also means that I've lost the game because the Soviets now have more counters than me on the map. So it was very close. And in the end, I did not make it. I think I'm going to play another session of this, but before I just want to talk briefly about the game. So kind of a playthrough review, I guess, with setup and how to play. No, but as you can see, there's a lot of tension in this game, and I think that it's usually like that you're very close to losing or winning. So I think it has a nice balance to it. It's very exciting, I think, this system where you turn those enemy counters and you don't really know what you're facing. And you really have to plan ahead when it comes to placing out your initial troops and how to think that you're going to move up ahead. And then you have the Soviet infiltration, which is another, I think, very interesting step where you can choose to either keep your forces together to be strong in battle or spread them out to make sure that the Soviet reinforcements is halted. So I think there's a lot of, for such a small game, for such a light game, I think that it's really deep for what it is and a lot of fun and very exciting. I'm very impressed with it. And the same goes for the first one, which is just Rattenkrieg, Assault on the Tractor Factory. It's almost identical, I would say, to this game, but it's also equally fun. And if you think that you would enjoy this system, there is also 4 Big Brother systems. So first you have the games featured in Cities of the Damned and Islands of the Damned. So in Islands of the Damned you have Utmost Savagery, which is the Peleliu Island in the Pacific, designed by Stephen Cunliffe, the same guy who did this game in Rattenkrieg 1. And then in Cities of the Damned, you have the Battle of Aachen, which is designed by Michael Rinella. And Michael Rinella also did Stalingrad, Advance to the Volga, 1942, and Savage Street, Manila, 1945. 5, and he's also working on a third game in the series which takes place in the Battle of Berlin, and it also uses this very cool system where you have airstrikes and you have these enemies which are kind of stationary, but you know, they surprise you. I saw some people like complain about the enemy being stationary, but actually that is the concept that I like the most. I mentioned this in my unboxing video, that I think that is a very cool system for a solo game, because like I said, I have so many solo games, and with solo games where you have to control the enemy, you have to roll to see what he does, you have to look at a chart, and then it might be move one step closer, but he's over here. So let's say he's over here, so there's so many of these, then you have to roll which one of those, because 3 areas is 1 step closer, and it just feels, first of all, it feels very random, and then it feels like you have to put so much time and energy into controlling the enemy that it kind of takes away from the game experience. But in this one, it's just you against the enemy, and there's not going to be the chance where the enemy can move here or here. It's just about you and your tactics, and I really appreciate that system. I think that is the ultimate, one of the ultimate systems for a solitaire system. If I want to play with an enemy that's complex and intelligent, I'm going to be playing against another player. I'm not going to be playing a solo game. Okay, guys, let's set this up and let's go for one more run and see if we can capture the Barrikady Factory. Okay, so I pretty much went with the same setup as the last game, except that I put Steinmetz over here with the tank and the infantry instead of sending him here with the engineers. So I'm contemplating whatever, perhaps, because the thing I'm feeling is that the enemy has the biggest chance of reinforcing here. So with these 2 guys which have 2 in movement value, I can quickly run up there and take them out before too many of the Soviets will spawn. Okay, so we're gonna move in with the Stug and the engineers up here. These guys up here, same attack pattern as before. I have a half track with an infantry, and the General Selle is supporting. And then the tank and infantry together with Steinmetz, or Steinmetz it says, will go to this area. So let's go ahead and roll for Soviet infiltration. We should have done that before we moved. And we have a 7, so it's going to be up in this tough area. And now we should have moved, but anyway, I would have went to the same place, I think. So let's go ahead and flip these counters. We have an ambush, so the engineer takes a hit. And over here, we have a normal fighting Russian. And let's hope it's not a sniper. It's not, but it is an ambush. So let's do that on the infantry. And then this guy, which is a sniper. No, I lose Steinmetz. He's one of the best guys. And then let's lose this Soviet counter. And I actually think that when you do that sniper in the previous game, I did take 1 hit to my units, and I should have done that, because basically when that sniper then disappears, there's no combat. So I played that wrong. I did make it a little bit harder on myself than I needed to. So these guys are not going to be in combat, because the next step is if you want to go with airstrikes. So now we need to determine the dice. And let's go ahead and start from the west. So here we are in an obvious lead. So we're going to have 2 dice, and they're just going to have 1. So I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to use any airstrikes. I was lucky, you can see here. I won, so this guy is dead. However, I have to take 1 hit, and I'm going to sacrifice the engineers. And then in this area, they have a total value of 3. My is 4, so we are in the lead again. And oof, I rolled a 6. Very lucky, because remember, the Soviets will win ties. And then up here, the enemy is actually in the lead, because the defensive value is 3 plus 1, that's 4. I only have 3. So that means the enemy is going to have 2 dice, and I'm just gonna have 1. So I am gonna go ahead and I'll use 2 airstrikes just to try to be on the safe side, because here I will win ties at least. So maybe. And we roll a 5, they roll a 5, so very lucky again, we win. But we have to decrease 1, and we do that to the half track. So some of these, when you decrease their value, also he gains experience. They don't lose any attack value, so those are very good to decrease at least once, because you don't really lose power. Okay, and that's the end of the turn. So we are gonna roll for Soviet infiltration again. And roll a 7. And 7, I think, let's see, is... yeah, it's over here in the corner. So lucky us, there is no Soviet reinforcements. So let's see how we want to play this, because we want to play this smart. Here is a defensive value 3, here is a defensive value 4. So we could potentially finish in this turn, or we could spread out our troops and play it more safe. I could attack this area with the half track and the veteran and the tank. That might actually be pretty smart. I mean, the Stug is definitely going to move up there. And then I could actually bring... I could bring the veteran to him. And then I could send these guys... let's see here, I'll send this chap up here. And then also send the tank. And then I'll spread out with these guys. 5 and 11, and he'll stay at 4, or maybe he'll go to 9, because that's a higher. You also have to think it's good to occupy these areas with higher defensive values. Okay, so let's flip this one first, and it's a sniper, so unfortunately my general is killed, last general, and then we have this one guy left. And it's not a very strong guy, and there's no ambush, thank God. So the defensive value of the area is 4. He has a 2, so his attack or defensive value is 6. Mine is 3 combined. So they are leading with 2 dice. I only have 1. But you can bet that I'm gonna use all the airstrikes I can. So 1, 2, 3. So I get to add 3 dice. Keep in mind that I will not win any ties, as I don't have a general in the area. If I win now, I win the game. And I don't win because they roll a 6, so let's just remove this half track and then be very grumpy for the rest of the game. I will roll again for Soviet infiltration. And this guy should... wasn't he with a general? No, there wasn't a sniper attack. Okay, so they roll 10, and 10 is over here, so unfortunately they are reinforced. Okay, so let's see here what we want to do. We want to move in with the engineer unit and the Stug. And then this guy is going to support the tank, and these guys are moving up to hopefully be able to give their lend a hand. Okay, so let's see what we got here. It's not an ambush. So in this area we are in the lead, and in this area we are still far from being in the lead. So what I think is I'm gonna do is I'm gonna battle as normal without any airstrikes. So the enemy has 1 die, I have 2. And I win. And let's decrease the engineers. And then in this area the enemy has 2 dice. And I have only 1. So I'm definitely gonna use 1, 2 airstrikes to get 2 more dice. I'm out of airstrikes now, but I have 1 more die than they have. However, I do lose ties. So this is gonna be it, guys. Oh, no. 1 flew out of the dice tower. Let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks good. Oh no, man. Okay, that sucks. Okay, so we lose. And we go for another turn. Soviet infiltration. And they roll 10, and luckily I am already occupying 10, so that's not of any help to them. Okay, so I'm gonna move up my Stug. I move in my I think I'm gonna just keep my infantry units separate, I guess, because I'm already, or no, actually I'm gonna move him in, because then I can absorb the hit with him and not lose any attack power. And this guy, I think I'll stay in 11 because it's such a high defensive value there. Okay, so we have 3 in attack value, they have 6 in defensive value. So they're gonna have 2 dice, and I'm just gonna have 1, and they win any ties. Let's see, guys. Oh no, why did I roll a 1? Okay, so we absorb the hit with the infantry, and then we end this turn. And we roll for Soviet infiltration again. And they roll a 5. And oof, I don't have anything in 5. So he spawns over here. And then it is our turn again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move out my infantry, move south here. I'm moving in, or actually I'm consolidating my troops there. And then I move in with the Stug here. So now we have an attack value of 5. Oh, they still have 2 more than I. They have, see here, they have 6. So I'm still down 1. Pardon me. I'm still down 1 die. Okay, I guess that's. I think what I'm gonna do is instead move in with. Oh, I think he already moved. Okay, let's do the Stug then. Okay, they have 2 dice. I have 1 over here. And I lose again. Very bad. Okay, we go to a new turn. And the Soviets will again do the infiltration thing. They roll a 10, but we are already in 10. Lucky us. Okay, so let's go ahead and move in with our engineers over in area 5. And I think this guy is gonna stay where he is. Maybe move to, I think 8 is more likely than 6. There's actually statistics of that, but 6, 7, 8 is going to be likely all of them. So these guys stay where they are. And, or maybe actually I move out with that tank and in with the infantry, because the tank has a movement value of 2. So it's worse if I lose the tank. I can't react to that last possible Soviet infiltration. So let's flip this guy, and it's not an ambush, but it's a very strong unit. So now they have a defensive value of 5. My attack value is 4. So again, they have the lead. So down here, they have the lead with 2 dice. And they win. Up here, they have the lead again with 2 dice versus 1. And I win. I remove my infantry unit. And unfortunately, they still have guys alive. We roll for the last Soviet infiltration. It's a 7. So let's see. Oh, I'm already in 7. Perfect. Okay, this is going to be the last turn of the game, hopefully. Let's move my tanks 1, 2. And this guy can only move 1. And we're going to fight again with our engineers. I have 1 die. He has 2. Oh, no. Okay, last Soviet infiltration. And they roll a 6, and I don't have any forces at 6. So this time I think what I'm gonna do is move my tank in here and then move my Stug up here. So let's see what we got. Probably an ambush. Yeah, that's bad. Let's start with this area down here. They're still in the lead with 2 dice. I have 1. I roll a 1. Come on. I lose my tank. And then up there, they are also obviously in the lead. I roll a 5 now, but then they roll a 6. So he's done, and I've lost the game because they have more counters than I do. Man, I won several times before, I promise you guys. This is just very bad luck. I don't know why the Soviets are being so stubborn. But, well, I guess they know I'm recording, so they want to show the world what they got. Well, guys, unfortunately, I didn't manage to win, and I'm not gonna try a third time because I need to get to bed, and I know I'm just gonna die again. But I promise you, it is winnable. And of course, I mean, you're rolling dice, so it's gonna be luck dependent, but it's still very fun, and there's still lots of ways that you can choose to tackle the scenario. Some might be better than other, I guess, if you look at my game. Guys, if you want to see more stuff like this, I'm going to be covering a few games similar to this. I'm going to be covering Aachen in Cities of the Damned, and also Savage Street Manila 1945. So if you don't want to miss out on that, subscribe to my channel. Give my video a like, and I would also really much appreciate a comment. Do you think I could have played this differently? Were I just unlucky, or were I a very bad general? That, you know, I mean, I got sniped by both of these guys. I think that's fairly unlucky. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.